Good morning and welcome to Sunday at the Segal. I'm your host and moderator, Sarah Deshaies. Today we are exploring the Segal's newest show, SuperDogs, the musical, and the hard work and magic it takes to train and perform with dogs. Before we begin, the Segal Center is situated on the traditional territory of the Danièle people. The land was also a diplomatic meeting place with other Iroquoians and Algonquins, including Algonquin Anishinaabe, Atikamekw, and Huron-Wendat. We acknowledge that we are located on the land that has been the site of human creativity and storytelling for thousands of years. And we are thankful that we are here and able to create, collaborate, play, and work here. In SuperDogs the musical, we meet Chloe and her dog Bear. Chloe has recently moved to Montreal with her family. Bear is 3 years old, an adoptee from the SPCA, and the pair has an undeniable connection. Chloe is eager to prove that she and Bear have what it takes to be SuperDog stars, but she'll have to earn the approval of Chase, the show's host and producer. Along the way, they'll also meet Dante, the choreographer, and Willa and Willie, two dogs who happen to be best buds, and both eager to graduate from water pups to the big leagues. The musical brings together 5 human actors, 6 animal trainers, and their super dogs, over 20 of them, plus a live human band performing 7 original songs. The show in the show, of course, is SuperDogs, a juggernaut in the live entertainment business, founded originally in Montreal and with offices today in both Montreal and Toronto. Over the past 4 decades, more than an estimated 20 million people of all ages have come to see the SuperDogs perform their tricks and compete in family-friendly shows in stadiums and concert halls all over North America. I went as a kid, and I'm sure you did too, or maybe you brought some little ones with you. There are currently over 100 trainers who perform in SuperDogs with their family pets, canines of all breeds, and there have been spin-offs as well, TV series, a 2005 feature film, Danièle and the SuperDogs. Now, while your own beloved family pet may never learn to do a hoop jump on command, so many of us do love our dogs and appreciate their companionship and loyalty. You just have to look at the trend in pandemic pups over the past year and a half. Part of the fun of SuperDogs is seeing not only the tricks, but the relationships with their trainers. So today, we are going to take you behind the scenes to find out what it takes to be a dog trainer and to support and love the pets who put on the show, as well as the sometimes hairy logistics of working with 24 canines in a live musical. Let us meet our panelists for today. Leonard Chase co-wrote SuperDogs the musical with John Halpin. You will spot his character Chase performed by Stuart Adam McKenzie. Leonard saw SuperDogs for the first time in 1990, and he went on to partner with the show's founder, Herb Williams, bringing to the table his experience in business, marketing, and advertising, and his profile as a television personality in and around Montreal. Leonard helped develop SuperDogs into the experience we know today, and he played an instrumental role in creating the TV series and feature film based on the brand. Danièle Pichette is one of the SuperDog trainers in the show, and you will see her on stage with her 2 dogs, Jack Russell Terriers, Spade and Squat. She is an internationally recognized trick dog coach, works as an animal wrangler on film and TV sets. Danièle joined SuperDogs as a cast member in 2014 with her dogs. She also competes with them in disc, agility, and dock diving, but during their days off, she enjoys hiking, playing, and cuddling with them just as much. Welcome, Danièle.
Thank you.
And lastly, Amy White is the head trainer for this production. She has been performing with SuperDogs for over 2 decades and is currently the team's director of operations and general manager. She and her 8 SuperDogs have entertained millions of fans live and on television. Amy has also worked as director of communications for the Toronto Humane Society. She is the publisher and editor of Dogs, 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 and has been an obedience instructor since 1997. Welcome, Amy. Welcome to you all. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
What a pleasure.
Thank you.
So for those of you at home right now, we'll be undertaking a discussion here. You can put any comments you would like in whatever format you're viewing. If you're on Facebook or on YouTube, please add in your comments and your questions. We're going to tackle them towards the end of our discussion here. So to start off, I'd like to each ask you guys briefly to tell us about how you got into the business of show dogs and animal training, and what do you love about it? Chase, why don't we start with you?
Well, I've always had dogs, love dogs. I always say I speak dog. My most important quest is always to go out for a walk with my dog in the forest. It's just it's so zen for me. And years and years and years ago, I met a gentleman by the name of Herb Williams, and you don't really know what people do. And then I went to the show in Vancouver and saw the SuperDogs show, and I went, "Oh my goodness!" I said, "This is so perfect, so wonderful." And Herb was having some problems on the business side of things, so I just said, "Hey, I'm going to help you get this business back running." And from there, we just kept building the product up and up and up to where we are right now with a play at the Segal Center, which is it's really the ultimate thing is to have this play. It's unbelievable. We get to express every emotion that we wish to express is in the play. And it doesn't get any better than that.
Thank you. Danièle, how about yourself? How did you come to the world of dog training?
I always liked dog. I always wanted dog when I was a kid. I had a few, but when the parents have to take care of the dog because you're a kid. So I did not have pets when I was, let's say, teen and school years. But then when I got back and I had my home and I realized, I still like dogs and I still want to have dogs around me. And so Squat came into the family because we wanted a small breed, a very active breed. It was from the beginning, I did not knew all the sports and all the thing we can do with your dogs, but I knew that I wanted to do all of it and stay active and have a dog that would be very active and learning things with me and do things. And it's really what happens. I had Squat. I was hand feeding him, teaching him tricks every night with his supper instead of just putting the ball down. And then we started agility and tricks, and here and there I started even the movies and then the shows, and I just knew I wanted to do it. So it happened, but I'm very happy it did.
So this was your career path from a young age. You must have just been in your early 20s.
Squat is no, actually Squat is 12. So it's been, I was in my 30s when I finally got my own dog and started this dog adventure. So yeah, it has been put back for too long, but now it's wouldn't change back and turn around.
Amy, how about yourself? Do you have a similar story of always loving dogs?
Well, I've been fortunate that all of my whole career has been around dogs. But it started with, I was working at the Humane Society and I adopted a dog that had a lot of energy, which is probably why he ended up there. So I took him to an obedience class and he liked it, I liked it. And then I just sort of kept doing it, learning more skills with him and doing tricks. And at the time, the lady that ran the school was a cast member of SuperDogs. And she said, I think you and Calvin would really enjoy this. You should audition for the show. And he was my gateway into SuperDogs because I've been doing it now for over 20 years with multiple dogs that I've had in the show now, performing with them. And I think that a lot of the dogs that end up at shelters, they just need something to do, whether it's SuperDogs or agility, and those make great SuperDogs. Those dogs that have a little bit of extra energy, we always love those dogs for the show.
And Amy, if I'm correct, you are at the Segal already. That's the background we're looking at right now. You're getting ready for this afternoon's preview.
Yeah.
So you were kind of, it's almost like when you hear about the story of someone who becomes a model, they get spotted on the street and someone hands them a card. You were just at an obedience school experience and someone said, I think you have what it takes. I think you and your dog have what it takes, because it is not every athletic dog can be a super dog. There is that it factor. There's a little bit more. You need dogs. It's hard to describe, and that's sort of what Chase looks for, and myself now when we're casting the shows. You're looking for a dog that loves to perform, and there are dogs that walk on stage and they draw your attention and they have that it factor, and that's what we're looking for. Not just dogs that have skills. We want those dogs, but we want a dog that is truly a performer, and when you have that kind of a dog, that's going to be a great dog in a play. And we'll get more into what it takes and like how you figure out whether a dog is meant to be on stage in a couple of minutes. But I want to go back to the story first and turn it to Chase. So we meet Chloe. She's 13, 14, 15 years old. She's got a dog Bear. She loves her dog. They have a solid bond. So why is that the story you decided to tell for SuperDogs the musical?
Well, first of all, everything in the play is real. We've had lots of 13-year-old girls come up that love their dogs and just want to be in the show. So every single piece of that play is written from our SuperDog experience. And young girls just love their dogs. They think the world of their dogs, and they have aspirations. And so I wrote it based upon that young girls have aspirations to be in the SuperDog show. And young girls are very sensitive towards their dogs, and it gave us the vehicle to write the music. Like John Halpin and we got together and I said, okay, we wrote the scenario, but here's a perfect spot to sing about Never Alone. Well, let's face it, I'm never alone when I have a dog. You're never alone. If you have a dog, you're never alone. You come home, your house is. You could be coming home to an empty house. Your house is full. You go for a walk. You're not alone. You're with your dog. So that whole thing of never being alone when you have a dog is quite unique. Having a young girl express her unconditional love for a dog. Well, we all love our dogs unconditionally, but there's a really strong bond between young people and their dogs because they haven't gone into a relationship yet. It's their first relationship. Their dog's their first relationship. Okay, they love their dog unconditionally. We show that. Never give up on your dog. Well, if you're a young person, don't give up on your dog. If you're an older person, don't give up on your dog. So there's every single value in there is really, really valid and real, and we've experienced it all.
It's true. It's a really elemental relationship. We do see it in books and movies where we have a young person who has their companion, and sometimes an adult as well, where the dog is the only person who's with them. That's been the foundation of so many stories that we consume in pop culture. So it was a smart choice to kind of build up Chloe and Bear. I want to ask about the young girl with the dogs. You said that you get a lot of kids coming up saying like who want to be SuperDogs trainer. Danièle and Amy, do you see that as well in your work, that you get adolescents or slightly older kids who are like, I want to be part of the show?
One of our cast members from Ontario, a woman now by the name of Jamie, so I met her when she just sent a letter, which also she mailed a letter, which was so strange to get actual mail. And she was young. She had drawn pictures on this envelope and she mailed it. And she was just talking about her dog Toppy. And I don't know what possessed me. I said, come and spend the day with us because we were going to be at a show in her town and her birthday was coming up. And so I said, why don't you just come and spend the day with us? And so Jamie is now in university and her dog is now 9 years old and she's looking to get a second dog. But I was inspired by her because I can see her and where she wants to go with her dog. And I think that SuperDogs is really, she's a completely different person than she was 9 years ago when she had this young puppy. And she thought, I have a special dog, like we all think with our own dogs.
Like the line from Dante in the play, everyone thinks their dog is a SuperDog.
Yeah. So that brings us back to that question of what does it take to be a SuperDog? All dogs are special. We all love every single pet, no matter how much they misbehave or, chew on slippers and all that. But it takes a special quality, right? So, Amy, you were hinting at this a little bit about a special personality, like a certain je ne sais quoi. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit more? Like, does my dog have to be really agile, coordinated?
Yeah, the thing about SuperDogs is it is like casting a play. There are different roles and characters that you put together when you're putting together the cast of the show. So you want to have a dog that appeals to everybody in the audience. So obviously we have some tremendous athletes. And so that goes without saying that the dogs that perform with SuperDogs are very athletic. But we also have dogs that you wouldn't think would be athletes performing in the play. We have 3 dachshunds who are they're just showstoppers because they do all of the skills that these big dogs are doing, but they're just so small. And we also have big dogs and little dogs and fast dogs, and it's comedy dogs whose job is to entertain. And so that's really when somebody thinks about being in SuperDogs, we of course want athletes, but that's not what we're looking for. It is that it factor that is almost hard to put your finger on. And it's also then their owner. All of the dogs in the show are trained by their owner. They're our personal pets first and foremost. And it's also pet communication. And that's a little bit about what the play is about, is that bond between Chloe and Bear. And that's all of the trainers that you see in our show. We adore, these are our pets and we love them. And that love comes across while we're performing with them in a show. And that's sort of the bond that we're always trying to portray to people, is to love your dog, play with your dog, communicate with your dog. And that's sort of the secret formula that makes a great super dog.
And by family pets, like, this literally means that the trainers take the dogs home with them. The dogs don't go.
I don't know if you can see my dog sleeping on the chair beside me over there. So I'm from Ontario. We're staying here in Montreal, and my dogs are with me, sleeping on the bed every night. They're first and foremost my pets, and it is a bonus that we get all of these other experiences that we get to do, and I'm so thankful for them. But they're secondary to, like Chase said, going for a walk with your dog and just being a dog.
I want to ask Danièle now about what it takes to choose a dog that's going to be a super dog. You and I spoke last week, Danièle, and the funniest thing, something that stuck with me, was that your dogs are going off sometimes to be with other trainers, and that you said they look at you and they say, "Okay, Mom, we're going to go with someone else for now, but we'll come back and see you later." Like, this is like the bond you have, that they're like, "We'll be okay without you, but we're going to go home together and be together." So you have Jack Russell Terriers. How, like, when you knew this was going to be a career path for you, but you were also a dog lover, like, how did you decide what breed you were going to end up with, or what dog to look for to know if they were ready for, the spotlight?
Well, we choose, it's a couple decision, the breed that we end up with. And honestly, it's for the worst reason. It's because my husband liked the movie The Mask so bad, he wanted a Jack. And I mean, it's the worst reason to pick a dog is when you see one in the movie that's super trained and does all those cool things and looks so behaved, because it's usually I drive breeds that you need very good skills to handle. So I was lucky because Squat was my first one, and he was very sweet and wanting to learn and all of these things. But a bit like Amy and Chase said, I don't think I would pick a dog just for his performance and his potential career. It's my pets. It's my dogs, my partners in life. And if they happen to be skilled enough and enjoy the show, I will put them there and have fun with them on a stage. But if it's only to go for walks and swim and have fun at home, it's going to be just the same. So, but yes, of course, you can make sure you select dogs that have some kind of disposition to do shows. And just a second, there's squirrels in the bathroom. Okay.
Who do you have there with you right now, Danièle?
I have. Okay, say something.
Okay. We'll let you get that situation under control. I'm curious to know, like, do dogs have to be purebreds? Is that something that you look for? Amy, you said there's lots of different breeds that we can see on stage, but is that essential that a dog is,
Not at all. Yeah, no. About 50% of the dogs that you see in the SuperDog shows are from shelters or humane societies. And so when people adopt a dog, sometimes those little mixed-breed dogs they draw people in. And so there isn't really the perfect SuperDogs in terms of a breed. The more variety we have, the better.
Danièle was also telling me last week that, the dogs look forward to performing. Like, there's an element of performance that they want to be on stage. You don't go into acting unless you want the spotlight on you, right? Like,
Absolutely.
What is that like to observe that in a dog that wants to be on stage? And do they get stage fright as well? I was kind of curious. I'll open that question up to anyone who'd like to answer it.
Well, for sure, dogs can get stage fright, but that's what we train for. So we set our dogs up to be successful, and by exposing them to being on the stage and preparing. That does happen, but that's sort of what we wouldn't put a dog in until they're ready. So we train them for those experiences.
And Danièle, who is that with you right now?
This is my youngest, Jack Salty, and he just came with us in Montreal yesterday night. So now he's discovering that we have a balcony with pigeons and squirrels. And he thinks it's the best thing ever. So he's looking to squirrel TV right now.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a really important job to do, to scare away the squirrels. It's essential.
Yeah. Well, it's actually a great way of saying it, because those dogs need a job, and a bit that's why Amy started doing so many things with her first rescue dog, because it's the same with Squat and all my Jacks. If they don't get to play and say, they will find and make herself their own job, and you won't like it. It's gonna be to like chase the cat or bark at the mailman or stuff like that. And so if you keep them busy and you get to play and make their brain works and feel content with themselves, because they really feel like they did something, they were like accomplished something and succeeded, they're much more behave afterwards.
Yeah. The dogs love to perform. It is. I think that there's probably a bit of adrenaline the way that we are just before we go on backstage. But I know with my dogs, like they're peeking their little noses around the corner, like they love to perform. And we noticed it yesterday when we had the rehearsal, that there were people in the audience. And I always think that because we get more excited, the dogs get more excited. But the stage or the arena or wherever we're performing, for the dogs, that's their playground. So we think that we're doing this very serious job, but the dogs are just having a ball. Like for them, this is all play. It just happens to be in front of people.
So true.
Chase, is there anything that you wanted to add about, because you came to this world and you were a dog lover, but you didn't necessarily know anything about show business and dogs when you signed up for SuperDogs way back when, right?
Well, first of all, it all comes down to marketing. Do you know there's only 3 types of people in the world?
Okay.
Have a dog, and when you watch the SuperDog show, my dog could do that. You had a dog, and you go, oh, that reminds me of Barney or Bear or Bo or whatever it is, right? Like there's a real, or that's the dog I want. So we all fit into those 3 categories. So when there's an open market like that, that you put something out, and everyone is going to relate to what you're putting on stage or in the arena. It's pretty sweet. It really is sweet. And the other thing that happens in the SuperDog show is that if they were a bunch of kids performing or adults or a team or something, and you ask them to cheer, it may or may not, but everyone cheers for the SuperDog. So imagine everyone cheers and they all have some connection, past, present, or future, with what you're showing. So it's one of the nicest positions you can possibly be in, because you can never fail. Every time I say, there's not one person leaving talking about the music, the costumes, this, that. They just like the dogs. Well, it's a laissez-passer for having a good time every time you put on a show.
And as a performer, I always think if I inspire somebody to have more fun with their dog at home, like how great is that somebody who maybe underestimated their dog or didn't think dogs could do these things or thought maybe they had to have a special type of dog, and you can say to them, any dog is capable of doing some of these things, and encourage people to have more fun with the dogs that they have.
I've had dogs that I trained to put in the show. I train them for a certain number of events, and I can tell you it's way more fun being a cast member and running your dog than it is producing or hosting. It's way more fun to run with your dog. So I would change the job I have, just to run the show, But that means you better go out and train your dog and work your dog, etc. Like Amy and Danièle. I don't train. I do train my dog every day. We go out for walks. We can do everything really well living in a city or in the country and whatnot. Never misbehaving, but always having fun together. But to train them to do, to all the events that Amy and Danielle do, that's a long time. You better be dedicated, getting up every morning. Like if you want to go skiing or playing tennis, they go and do dog.
Yeah, I'm sure consistency is really key. So how long would it take to train a dog to do a trick? And I was going to mention that at the start of the show, when you walk in, before anyone sings anything, there's actually going to be tricks on stage. It's really fun. You get immersed into that world nearly immediately as the audience. And they'll be doing a couple of basic tricks. So to learn something, can you maybe name me a trick and tell me like how long it might take for a dog to pick it up and be able to perform it?
I think that what trainers' dogs know better than a pet dog is they know how to learn. And so our dogs understand the concept of being taught something. And so I don't know if that makes sense to somebody, but if we are teaching our dog, whether it's sit pretty or roll over, our dogs are probably going to learn it quicker because we're efficient. We're good trainers. That's our skill set. But it's not that our dogs are smarter, but they understand the concept of being rewarded for behaviors that we want repeated. And so that's really the succinct things, that behaviors that are rewarded are repeated. So we have our dogs repeat behaviors that we like. And so, our timing is really good, and so we're efficient with the timing that we have. So, like sometimes we will talk to the director, or Phil Chase will have an idea, and I'll say we can get that done quickly because that's what we do.
Right.
But if you're interested in training dogs, we always recommend people to start with obedience classes, and that's where you learn to train your dog, and then your dog also learns the concept of learning. It's not really about the skills. They understand the concept of what learning is all about. And of course, we always advocate for positive training and never negative. We want the dogs to enjoy the experiences that they're having.
Yeah. Also, because when we train dogs, they get more eager to try to offer behavior.
Yeah.
Then they might be rewarded for offering something and trying stuff. So they will try to figure what we expect from them and do all of these things instead of waiting for it to make them happen. So they're trying, and we interact with them, and it's something that develops quickly with dogs. When you start rewarding behavior and training tricks, they will keep wanting more and trying to offer you other behavior, and will be less afraid of failing or not figuring what you want, because they will just try and offer and play with it, and you will go around that and reward what you like, and you will end up building many different behavior, but it's all coming from the dog being eager to just offer you stuff and say, hey, what if I do this, would you give me a treat, or you rather do that? And so that's very fun to see that switch coming on.
They learn to learn just like we do, right?
Yeah.
Like they learn those building blocks. So what is like a common first trick that a dog might, put in their arsenal?
Oh, that's a good question. I heard that giving paw is a normal behavior of the dog, kind of to human food. So it's supposed to be easy, but so many times I heard people telling me they have a hard time to teach their dog to give paw. I don't feel it's a general opinion. So Amy, what do you think it's?
If someone were to ask me what the first thing to teach would be, is I would say that they should teach their dog to be attentive to them. So teach focus, because if your dog is not focused on you, if they're distracted and wanting to visit, then they will never learn to sit or heel or roll over or play. They won't learn any of those skills if they're not paying attention to you. So that's the first thing I do with any dog, whether I've adopted, because I have dogs from shelters as well as from breeders. So the first thing I do is try to get my dog focused on me, with limited distractions, and then we increase the distractions. And that's how our dogs are able to perform in front of thousands of people and ignore the other dogs and focus on us, because we've trained them to do that.
And how do you bring distraction into the training experience? Because you don't have thousands of people right there when you're learning to do like a jump through the hoop, right? Like what would that turn
into? A very good question. I actually acquired a dog during COVID, and it was a completely different experience for me than the dogs that I've gotten before. I took for granted socializing my dogs at shows, and I'm very fortunate that I travel with SuperDogs all the time, and so I usually have all of these opportunities for my young puppy. So I got a young dog during COVID, and so I had to make an effort to figure out how do I socialize a dog when we're not allowed to socialize. And it's the same idea as distractions, which is before I had to like go to the boardwalk in Ajax, which is a town near me, and there was a lot of people out walking their dogs, strollers, people with different abilities and different ages, and so that's where I started, was just getting her to look at me with kids on rollerblades and a bike going by, and then once we were successful, we could always increase the level of distraction by going to a playground and getting more, closer and more distractions. But it is something that you have to make an effort to do. Like you have to. I certainly did at this time of during the pandemic, is I had to completely change how I do things, which as a trainer, it keeps your skills fresh too.
Now, did you notice, Sarah, that Danièle and Amy use the words skill and behaviors? Because in our philosophy, there's no such thing as tricks. We're communicating with our dogs, playing with our dogs. It's not like a trick. Oh, I'll give you this and you do that. And we humiliate the dog where they have to do something to get something to eat. We're actually doing skills and behaviors so they can live with us better, so that we can go anywhere with them, to the boardwalk, we can go to the restaurant, we can do whatever. So it's not tricks. It's really skills, behavior, communication, love, and play. And that's our philosophy. And when we go out on stage, that's what the trainers are emulating, those 5 things, and certainly love, play, and communicate. So
thank you for that elucidation. Who's joined you there, Amy?
This is Bravo.
And
he's a 5-year-old whippet.
And we'll be seeing him on stage in the musical?
We do see him, yes. He's one of our high jumpers.
So we have Bravo, who's joining us here, and Danièle there is with Salty, who's on squirrel patrol right now, kind of jumping in and out of frame. Chase, you look relatively very lonely without the dog with you, Chase.
I better get one. He's outside right now chewing a bone. He's like, I give my dogs a lot of freedom. They're out.
If you're just joining us, we're going behind the scenes of SuperDogs the musical. We're speaking with Chase, who is with SuperDogs, but is also portrayed on stage. Amy White is the head trainer, and Danièle Pichette is one of the animal trainers that you can see on stage with the show, which has its very first preview this afternoon and runs until December 19th. If you want to get your tickets, you should go right ahead. It's perfect for the holiday season, I would say. So I wanted to ask as well about what can go wrong and how you fix it. One of the themes in the show with Chloe and Bear is that, well, we won't give anything away, but that, one of the themes is that the show must go on no matter what. So have there ever been a time where you were getting ready for a live performance of some sort and maybe there was a mishap, or is it, can dogs get sick or stage fright, or something is off and you kind of have to scramble to find a solution? I'd love to know how you approach that. Chase, maybe do you have any stories?
Well, yeah, the host, if you're hosting a show, it's never going to go right. It's not going to go right. The dogs are dogs. It's going to mess up. So, like, even today, we have a show going on. I was writing some escape valves, relief valves for the host of the show, because he has to be ready for when Bear doesn't do it, or someone knocks the bar, or a dog runs off stage, or whatever it may be. So all those imprévus, all those things that just happen, you have to be ready for them. And they add to the show. They really, really do. They say dogs are going to be dogs. They're going to be just like your dog at home. Even years ago, sometimes we had a dog that we'd hide a stuffed toy in the audience, and he would just leave he'd know at one particular time to leave and go get that stuffed toy out of the audience. Well, it was sort of cute, right? He was leaving to get his toy. There's so many things that happen. You just go with it. It's the flow. You just have to be ready and make sure that you got the audience still concentrating on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, all that can go wrong will at some point,
Right.
but most of the time people think it was meant to happen, or they will laugh. I mean, very rarely people realize it's not part of the show. Or I mean, every time something bad happened something did not go according to the plan with my dogs on stage, people always laughed, and often people thought it was meant to happen that way. So that's why I try to say to newer cast member or people that are more stressed with their dogs, I always remember them that, yeah, you would like to give your A game and perform like and succeed all the time, but if it doesn't happen, people will still find it funny and cute and love it. So and pressuring our dogs won't make it any better. So it's better to just go with the flow and keep smiling and laugh with the crowd, because they are laughing. So
you have a very generous audience, I think, where people are prepared to kind of go with the flow no matter what. And as you were saying, people just expect it to kind of, if something goes awry, it's part of the show. Amy, is there an experience you wanted to share?
I think that what Danielle was saying is very true. The audience is behind the dogs. They want to see the dogs succeed, and I think things always go wrong. But some of the skills that you see in the show are so amazing that they always will shine brighter than any moments that we were disappointed by. And the dogs are always having a good time, and I think that comes across, whether it was the moment you thought was supposed to happen or not.
Yeah, I was in Vancouver a couple of years ago, and we had this magnificent Belgian Malinois, and he ran the course. It was beauty, absolute beauty, this dog running the course. I saw it. I was so impressed. I said to the audience, you've just witnessed something that's absolutely magnificent. This dog is just incredible. I said, we're going to stop the music. We're not going to play any music. We're only going to watch this dog run it again. He finishes giving him a standing ovation. The dog ran. The people just stood up and clapped for him because it was too beautiful not to repeat. So you as a host, or when the show's going, you have all these opportunities to highlight something, whether it's the comedy, the dog not doing it right, the dog being magnificent, but it doesn't always have to be the best. It could be just the heartwarming moments.
So you really have to go with the flow, right? Like you really want to be able to think on your feet as the host, and this applies to the trainers as well, I'm sure, is that you're very present in the moment, looking for moments that you can, like you were saying, highlight, boost up, how to adjust if something doesn't quite go according to plan. There's a lot of thinking on your feet.
Well, Amy hosts and we have 5 hosts in our show, and Amy hosts as well. And it's fun. You walk out and you don't have any lines for 30 minutes, an hour. There's no lines. Okay, let's see what happens. When we have events, we have something written here, but you don't know what you're going to say. And what you were trying to do is you're trying to communicate with the audience and use the dogs as the conduit to talk with them. So it's quite magical.
We have many questions coming in, and we're going to get to them in just a second. If you have a question that you would like to ask Chase, Danielle, and Amy about, whether your dog would be a good super dog or what it takes to train them or anything about the show, just drop them in the comments below, and we'll get to them in just a moment. My last question to you guys is, I just wanted to know what the pandemic has been like for you. Obviously, live shows, different rules in different places, but for the most part, we haven't had as many live performances over the last little while. And I imagine it was, Amy, you were kind of hinting at this as well. You adopted a new dog during the pandemic, so you had to change a bit of your obedience, how you were raising them. So what is the pandemic like for these dogs who are so used to being in front of audiences and performing?
Absolutely. I'll leave it to Chase to talk about how SuperDogs, our business, handled the pandemic, because that's different than me personally, but our business did have to switch gears as well. But for my dogs, who are used to almost every weekend performing in a show, to really just stop. So the first couple of weekends were fun. We went hiking every weekend and we spent some time, but suddenly the dogs were very much like, we need other activities. So we did lots of training at home, but it was a big adjustment for them. And I thought at first that it would be just me that missed performing, but I think that the dogs absolutely missed the whole atmosphere. Like the dogs, I mean, they thrive, they love performing. And so when we finally got back to being in shows, we did some drive-through theater shows as well. Early on in the pandemic, where people were in their cars beeping, and I was worried that the sound of the cars honking would scare the dogs, but they were happy to be on stage. They knew that they were back. You could feel it with the dogs. They were so thrilled. So with my young dog, I had to find different ways to train her, and with the older dogs, I had to find different ways to entertain them and fulfill that desire that they have to perform.
And how many dogs do you have again?
I have 8, but I have older dogs, but I have 4 that are performing in the show.
And Danielle, you've got a trio of Jack Russells, I think, at home. How did they deal with lockdown and pandemic life?
They're very good because we don't have any kind of routine in our life. So sometimes we're on TV, sometimes we're on shows, sometimes we do not much going outside, playing the pool, going on our land to walk, or so they're not really never on their toes expecting something, but they really do enjoy doing all of these things. I was lucky for all related to filming movies and sets that they managed to come back from like lockdown quickly. It was one of the area that went back on track quickly, so I could have my dogs work on set a bit, but it was still very sad for me to see my growing older dogs missing not the last years, but very like a good year of being in shape and being still willing to go like that, and just having to not enjoy the crowds and the trials and the show. So that was hard, but I think it was much harder for me than for the dogs, because they would be just as happy to play and swim and have fun around. So I think they made the best out of it, more than we did. But I'm very happy that they're still in good shape and that we're slowly going back to a better life, like social life, and that we're now on a stage, and that Squat will get his ovation every night. He loves it so much. I'm happy that he will still be able to enjoy this before it's too late. He's just like too old or whatever. He's so happy. Yeah.
And Squat is going to be on stage. We'll be able to see him in the show. We're looking at Salty right now. He looks like he's about to doze off, and I feel so relaxed.
Actually, this is Spade.
Oh, this is Spade. Okay.
Yeah, that's why she looks so much quieter. She's tired from all the practice and the shows. Yeah. This is my little girl, and she's one of the bear. So.
And we'll see her on stage as well.
She's not a morning person, so she enjoys the downtime. And yes, I think that today it's going to be Squat time to shine, because they alternate. They do the same role. They practice just the same. So I think you're going to enjoy Squat, which is enjoying my bed right now. So I will leave him there for now. But Spade is working very hard, and she's more of an evening show kind of girl.
Yeah, she's getting ready for the evening show. No matter her contract.
It's incredible that Danielle's brought 2 dogs into the production and she can interchange them. It's unbelievable training, fabulous communication, that she's working 2 dogs with another young lady running 2 dogs. I mean, it's beyond anything you could ever ask in show business. But
Zoe is amazing too, and I'm very impressed with the dogs. I mean, they're doing so good. They're just, they went beyond my expectation a lot. But thank you, Chase.
It's unbelievable.
And Zoe Brown is the young lady performing the role of Chloe, and eagle-eyed audience members will recognize maybe Zoe as being one of the children who was in The Hockey Sweater, the musical, a couple of years back. The musical we're talking about today, of course, is SuperDogs, the musical, first preview this afternoon. So we do have so many questions, and I want to get to them because I think these are very important ones. My dog gets bored easily. I think agility would be great for him to learn. Where should I get started with that?
If we're talking here in Montreal?
Yes, in Montreal.
Yeah, so in Montreal, we have a lot of agility going on. The best place to find out is to go to your local pet store because they know who's who and who's coming in. There's an incredible spot out in Hudson called Give Canin. They got a beautiful facility. They really run a first class organization. But if you're living on the South Shore, there's agility on the South Shore. There's agility on the North Shore. So just go to your local pet store, find out where it is. But your dog will love it because Amy and Danielle, that's where you start. You start with agility, so they could take.
You want to start with foundation first. So it's sort of a little bit about like putting the cart before the horse. If you start with agility, like your school will say you have to do obedience because your dog has to be attentive to you, has to be able to be off leash and not run around and be silly. So if you have a school that you like and you are on board with their training techniques and you feel comfortable with it, usually you find a school and you start with basic obedience, and then they usually offer other programs that you can go into, such as tricks and agility, maybe fly ball, scent detection. The dogs love to learn, so you sort of find which of those appeals to you the most.
Yeah, and one thing we have on Facebook is if you take any dog sport name and put Au Québec afterwards, and you're gonna end up on a group that will put together all the trials and events and classes. There's Frisbee au Québec, Agilité au Québec, duck diving, canin au Québec. So everything tries to blend in together, even herding for herding breeds. There's the Facebook group of this. So that's my reference. When I don't want to miss a trial or a class, I usually keep an eye on those groups too.
So Facebook, pet stores are great resources as well, as is Obedience School.
Yeah.
I want to ask very quickly, just to clarify, when we say agility, that is the next step after you've taught obedience, and what would that consist of?
It's a completely different sport. It's really a setup event with different obstacles. It's an obstacle course. So there's different jumps and obstacles that dogs have to go through, but it's always the same height and sizes. It's a preset obstacle that the dogs will learn, like the weaving, like the slalom between the poles. Sports on its own, and it's a side of obedience.
Okay. We have another question. Amy, you have 8 dogs, 4 are performing. Danièle, you have 3. Does it help to have more than one dog? I guess for the average household where people are having the dogs as pets and hopefully teaching them obedience as well, does it help to have second or third pets as well?
Sort of what happens, it's a bit of an occupational hazard, is that because I love it so much, and then as our dogs, not every dog wants to do this. So I have one dog he has health conditions, so he's just a lovely companion. So it's not for every dog, but there are, and then I also have dogs that were performing in the show that have since retired and are still just but they are companions. They're no longer in the show, and then. It's like I said, it is like sort of putting a play together. So I have different dogs for different things and different looks, and so it is very much like putting together a play. And so when I'm looking for new dogs, I'm sort of thinking about what skills they might do in the show as well. So I mean, we certainly don't get dogs for the show, but having more than one dog here helps me with the show. We have, of the 6 trainers that are performing in the play, in the musical, all of us have multiple dogs. And there's a number of reasons for that, because there's different skills that are required in the show, but also it makes sure that we're not overtaxing any of the dogs as well. We're not having one dog that has the sole responsibility of doing every event. We want to make sure that we're giving them just the right amount to handle.
Right, you kind of have to balance out the workload a little bit.
Yeah.
Chase, we just had a little cameo appearance there. Who was that we saw on screen?
That's my guy.
That's your guy? What's his name?
That's Jackson. I think he's eating right now.
He did a cameo.
Yeah.
He did a quick cameo.
Jackson looked really interested for like half a second, and then he was like, I have other things to do. But we were so happy to see him. What a gorgeous,
I have a
gorgeous
dog that
creature.
doesn't even fetch.
Someone who wants to get a pet in the next couple of years, curious to know, are there any breeds that are good for first-time dog owners?
I think if someone's interested in getting a dog, sort of like what Danielle and her husband did, which was you should put together a wish list of what you want to do with your dog. So, and what, like the size of the dog that you would like to have in your home, the energy level of a dog that you might want in your home. I have a dog in the show, Wonder Woman, and people often say to me, oh, I love her. I would like a dog just like her. And most people don't want a dog just like Wonder. I make her look, I shouldn't say I make her look. I've done a lot of training so that on stage she looks very appealing, but she is a terrier border collie mix who is endless energy. And if she didn't have an outlet like SuperDogs and the other sports that she performs in and participates in, she would be unpleasant to live with. And so that's really what somebody should think about is I want to go with my dog. So she's a perfect dog for me. But if somebody wanted a couch potato, that would not be the right dog for them. So I think being realistic about what your expectations are at the time that you have available to your dog for your dog, energy level, size, these are sorts of all of the things that you would narrow it down to before making your decisions.
And I suppose it's also, we hear this periodically when there is a big movie out that has one particular breed of dog. There's always kind of an after effect where everybody runs out to get a certain breed and then realizes they haven't done their research, as you're talking about. They don't have a wish list. And I think it happened after 101 Dalmatians. Danielle, your own family did this when you saw The Mask. And fell in love with Jim Carrey's pet, Jack, but it worked out for you because you were able to adapt.
but yeah, like I did the movie My Spy with Dave Bautista, and Spade was being the star there with as Ozzy, and it's always almost bittersweet for me to have my dog on TV because I know that it attracts for the breed because they look so cute, so much personality, they do all those cool things, but I'm always worried that people that are not ready for that kind of energy and meeting the need of such a hard working breed like this, they would get a dog that will end up maybe like in a rescue or abandoned because they're not for everyone. And yeah, like Amy said, when I wanted my Jack, I approved my husband's choice, even if it was because of the TV, because I knew I was going to do all these things with him and play and train and work hard to make him busy and content and behave, you know. So it's you have to know what you're signing for. You're signing for when you get a working breed like that.
It's often frustrating when at the end of our shows we use something that's called patent chat, where we get to meet the audience and they come and they speak to us about the dogs. And I'm often, I don't know if I'm frustrated or saddened when people say, oh, I have a dog at home, but he's stubborn, he doesn't do any of these things. And I think it's not that you just have the wrong match, or you're not investing the time in your dog. Dogs aren't knowingly difficult. It's not that they're going, I'm not doing that and I know the skill. They either don't understand the skill, we haven't trained them the right way. And so the more that we can do to inspire people to realize that the dog that they have at home has endless potential as well. I think rather than going and getting a dog based on what they see in the show, really just figure out what your needs are for your pet, for the type of pet that you would like to get, and then that probably would make you be more successful.
But there's been no free rides. Dogs through centuries have always had a job. So if they're sporting dogs, they went and got the duck. If they're herding dogs, they herd the cattle. If they're terriers, they went and got the mice or the rats or whatever it may be. So they've all had jobs. So you get a dog, then know what the breed is and know what they are, and then do what that breed would normally do. If you have a lab, go out and play and swim. If you got a Jack Russell, go and teach them all this little stuff because they like to be like this. If you got a hound, run. You know? So you have to know where they came from. If you know where the dog came from, then direct their energy into what their DNA is.
So what advice would you give then to someone who ends up with a mixed breed and might not have any idea necessarily what their dog's innate ability or what they're drawn to doing? Is it trial and error, would you say?
I think part of the SuperDog show is play with your dog. When you start playing with your dog, you are communicating with the dog's communicating with you. You learn all the things that they like to do, and you just enhance it. They love to play fetch forever, play fetch forever. If they just want to look for birds or something, look for birds. If they just want to be really, really, paying attention to everything you say, well, then they like that part. They're studious, but play with them and know what their personality is. And then you get a great dog.
I can't help but think back to my family's. Our second dog that we had was a spaniel mix, and he loved playing tug of war and fighting for toys, but you couldn't get him to play fetch at all. Like he would do Fais la Belle, he would do paw, but you just this dog would not fetch, get a ball for anything. It was just not what he was going to do. I feel so much more enlightened now. And I just want to underline again what Danièle said. I was just so blown away by how, you're also a wrangler for TV and movies, and how I imagine Jack Russells, because they're so cute and adorable on screen. In a way, your dogs are in demand, and that's what you do for work. But at the same time, you're saying that you're going on stage and knowing that you're going to entice a whole new generation of people to want to get Jack Russells without necessarily knowing the work involved.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what I was saying. I mean, they're cute. They're full of personality. They are very trainable. Amy said something about when people say my dog is stubborn. It's something we hear a lot when we have Jacks. Like, oh, Jacks are stubborn. They're not. You just need to be so much smarter than them, and it's hard. It's like, so they know what they want. You really need to get into their head. It's not a breed that want to please, so you cannot train them expecting them to try to make you happy. They're here for what they will be earning at the end. They like to play with you, but they don't do stuff for you. So you need to be together, communicate, and make sure you reward what you want and don't reward what you don't want. And also make sure they don't self-reward, because that's something that happens a lot. When they get, I closed the curtain here because they were feasting on the view and the squirrels and the barking. So I closed the curtain because they would self-reinforce that by themselves. They don't need me to say no or yes to that. They will just enjoy themselves there. And if I keep the curtains open, they will just learn that they can do this, and it's perfectly fine. And no matter what I could think about that, they will do it. So
what about our self-reward yesterday in the rehearsal? So Chloe came out, she jumped up and down, and she dropped all the treats on the floor in the middle of the show, right? And then Bear comes out and goes, I'm going for the treats. He worked his way around the stage and ate all the treats, and she's singing her song.
It was good, though. He was keeping an eye on her. That was nice.
I always say that things that make what make the skills or the attributes that somebody needs to be a good trainer are to be clear with your dog, to be consistent, and I also add creative, because how I train my hounds is completely different than I would train my Vizsla or my sports mix dog, my terrier mix, because what inspires a terrier is very different than a hound. They have very different training styles that I had to learn to, and that's, I think, what makes a skillful trainer. Not that anyone can train a border collie, but it's completely different to train a border collie than it is to train an Ibizan hound. They're not motivated equally.
Yeah. And it's the same for movie sets, and even what we are doing now in the play. It's creativity is required to make it happen, and have a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan Z, because things gonna go differently, and from an angle, from a way, because of the music, because of the people, because of the light. You need to change things and be creative all the time, and be on your toes, and think outside the box a lot.
I want to bring one subject up here, Sarah.
Quickly, Chase.
We're doing a show at the Segal Center. I could tell you it's the most professional place I've ever been in my life. I am overwhelmed with everything they do. It might as well be Broadway. Every single person there is professional, top of their rank.
Very true.
I'm totally overwhelmed with what's going on, and I hope this play actually really gets some traction, because with what they've done, it should go somewhere else and possibly down to Broadway or Vegas or something.
And I think the plan is eventually to tour Canada and maybe, yes, outside of Canada as well eventually. And I do know that with the staff at the Segal, it's been just the most exciting project to work on. Everyone is digging deep into their dog puns and just loves having the dogs around. So in theater, we say merde or break a leg. What do we say in the dog training world, at the dog performance world?
I don't know.
We go with
I don't know. We say break leg. That one scares me.
yeah, but we go with the flow, and we will go with what the theater says.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to say a very big thank you to our panelists here today, Leonard Chase, Danièle Pichette, and Amy White, and of course our cameo appearances with Jackson, with Halo, with Spade, and with Squat. It was Salty there as well, Danielle.
Yeah, this is salty now.
Our lovely cameo appearances never happened before. We at the Segal that we have these beautiful welcome dog incursions into our performances. So most spectacular to all of you later on today. A very big thank you as well to Gabriella Saltiel, Debbie Friedman, Lisa Rubin, and the rest of the team at the Segal Center for their work in bringing us together today. And thank you at home for taking the time to join us. You can book your ticket at segalcenter.org, 514-739-7944. The show first preview today, and it runs until December 19th. Sunday at the Segal will return in the new year, maybe in person or maybe online. Enjoy SuperDogs the musical. Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, be well and safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Merci.
Yeah. Thank you.
Are we still live?
Oh, thank you very much.
It was so great to meet you, Amy. Thank you.